I have a question though around meetings. So the previous company I was in is a large company, of course, but we would have meetings like all the time. And it just seemed, there's a lot of people on meetings. And I always think like, each person in this room right now, maybe we had like 2 weekly calls with about 15 people, and it was 15 very senior people. And I was just always thinking like, how much does this meeting cost?
Yeah.
Twice a week, so times by two. So how much does this meeting cost on a weekly basis? And like, honestly, it's like a huge sum of money. And I always thought like, is it actually useful? Because they just go around the room and basically update each other on what their team is doing. Now, what is the balance between meeting? I know we talked about, I guess, more in person versus remote, but I mean, you can have meetings across both. So more around the communication style. How do you get that balance correct?
Meetings are such yes, I have such a bugbear about meetings, and we're actually working with a client at the moment who we're working with their team to develop like an actual meeting charter of like, what are the reasons to meet, guidelines for like things to consider before you book a meeting. And for some people that sounds really overkill, but in a post-COVID world, I don't think it's overkill at all, because the default now is to jump on a meeting. And because we're not in the office, where if you saw someone in a meeting room all day, you'd be like, are you okay? Like that feels really intense. Because we're not in the office, people are getting booked out back to back. That didn't happen in the same way when we were in the office. I think people did kind of book in breaks a bit more. Okay, there's always exceptions to the rule, but I think generally we were a bit better at it. So I think in this world, we do need to be specific and intentional about when we have meetings and why. And that example that you gave of everyone going on a call and giving an update, do that asynchronously. There's no purpose to that. It's half of the people won't be listening. They'll be doing something else. When it comes to your update, you probably haven't prepared for it. So it's not really the most valuable thing that you could be doing. So I think the getting to an agreement of why we meet is really important. So for the client that we're working with now, we're currently experimenting with 4 reasons to meet. So to decide, to connect, to learn, to do. To do is actually one that's getting challenged at the moment, because we're like, well, if it's to do, is it something that we can update asynchronously? But we were thinking in that bucket, it was more about like your stand up, for example. So running through quickly, this is what I'm doing today or this week, and this is what I need help with. Whereas to decide is something that's big, strategic, like it's going to impact the course of action and then everyone's going to navigate towards that. To learn, there is a lot of value in collective learning, because it means that you can follow up and test each other afterwards. And there's a lot to be said about how you can then put that into practice when you're doing that as a collective. And to connect is to connect. Like we do need to connect with our colleagues in a way to like build those relationships, build that camaraderie. Now, if I said to you, that meeting that you just had in mind, does that fit into any of those buckets?
No, I wouldn't say so.
So I would say kill it. So
Yeah.
this is the process that we're going
Or
through.
make it like less regular.
Yeah,
perhaps.
exactly.
But that's if you make it less regular, it's more about the connection
Yeah.
side of things, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there's time and space for that. But like connection isn't built in everyone going around a room saying, this is what I'm working on. Connection is built through conversations and, sharing and like vulnerability. So if the purpose is to connect, then I would redesign that meeting entirely. I think there is value in updates, don't get me wrong, but I think updates should generally be an asynchronous thing. That's maybe my preference. I'm yet to be convinced that updates, purely for the sake of updates, are valuable, like bringing everyone together. And I think we also need to question how many people are on a meeting. Can we really get that much done with 15 people on a call?
Yeah, I mean, some people were in person, some people were remote, so it was like a hybrid thing. It originated with only maybe 10 people, then more people got brought in. It was just once a week, but then we couldn't fit it all in once a week. So, because it was just update, like people going around, but we didn't have enough time because people would ask questions and stuff like that. So they put it to like 2 hours, like 1 hour, like another 1 hour. So it's 2 hours a week. it just seemed like overkill, honestly. And it seemed like as soon as you were out the room, you just forgot as soon as it was finished.
Yeah.
And the notes were always like circulated. So it was like, well, we could have just read it in the first place, you
Yeah.
know?
I think like if anyone listening is feeling that strain, and as you start to, scale and grow and things get more complex, you will start to feel that meeting strain, and the team will start to feel it. And the team then are questioning like the job that they're doing, because they're like, I didn't sign up to be on meetings. I just signed up to create something
Yeah.
and deliver something. And so I think as soon as you feel that, bring your team together, or like get your teams to come together and talk about it and say, what is a good reason to meet? Agree on like what that looks like for you, and then start to like trial more asynchronous ways of doing things if they don't fit into that category. So at the moment with the company that we're working with, we are reviewing all of their meetings, and there's 3 potential actions that can come out of it. It's either removed, it's refined, or it's reduced. And I think that if we can be quite cutthroat with that, we can really overcome this like meeting overload that is so easy to fall into, but so negative to our productivity and our impact that we make.